Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here at this Committee of the Whole December 15th, 2025 meeting. Just taking a moment to acknowledge that the Northern Rockies Administration Center is located in the heart of the traditional territory of the Dene, Cree, and Denesaw people of Fort Nelson and Prophet River First Nations. We further recognize the rights provided by our treaty, and we also celebrate the contributions and the enduring presence of the Métis people in our region. Please be advised that today's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually, is being streamed and recorded. Are there any additions? Nope. Okay. Any comments from the public? Nope. And I'm just going to accept the agenda as presented. Taking us to reports and bylaws. We've got Committee of the Whole Report 25/25, analysis of 2024 operations. So I just wanted to say what a great report. Like, I really love the way it was broken down. I love the explanations along with the numbers, and I hope that this is something that future councils can enjoy. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to CAO Barry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and Tony's going to speak to the report. As a report, well, there's two documents, the admin report and then the report. That's the attachment that forms the actual information and provides the information to council and the public. In the past, we've taken different approaches on how this information has been presented to council, but it was more ad hoc and it wasn't necessarily consistent. And it's something that internally we've discussed at wanting to provide a level of consistency and actually have a process. So a little bit late to the table this year. I mean, it's old news when we talk 24 and we're almost hitting 2026. But in terms of process, we had a delay with the financial statements, of course, which drives a lot of this information, secures information. So what the intent is moving forward is budget process proceeds. When we talk budgets, we talk the budget for that budget, for that budget year that we're preparing for. We don't provide actuals at that time because we're focused more on the budget and the fact that even though many of the actuals might have some numbers attached to them internally as part of the financial perspective, because we've tracked things, we like to be able to provide that information more fulsomely when the financial statements are completed. So when we look at process and timing, we get that budget process done. Then in the meantime, in the background, typically late winter into early spring is when the financial statements are being prepared. Typically that presentation occurs to council. May 15th is when they are supposedly presented and adopted by council. When the financial statements are completed, the intent then is to provide the actuals for the previous year to council and review those actuals. So we're saying mid-spring-ish, right? And what that helps do then, that information is presented to the council. The actuals can be reviewed, any discussions, anything around questions regarding any variances or whatnot. It's a good opportunity, especially when we have carryover projects, to discuss what's carried forward and where that sits and what the plan is that year. But it also helps drive the information for the annual report, which is due by June 30th. So in terms of due process, it fits well, right? We're obviously well off the mark this time around, but we want to present information even just to receive the feedback, because it's the document that Tony's developed is the starting point, the basis of the foundation of this process, and any feedback in terms of the information, the approach, anything that council wishes to provide as feedback, we'll take into consideration, of course, right? So that's the reason for going this and doing this route. And the intent today is not to get into all the numbers specifically, is just to talk about the highlights. And if there's any specific questions, we have the directors here, with the exception of the chief, who just responded to an MBI down south here. So he's just wheels up in code 3 on the highway. So, but the intent then is that directors here too, similar to when the budgets, can speak to those numbers. But I'll hand it over to Tony, and if there's no questions, and I think there she is sitting there on top of the screen. All we have is-
Welcome, Tony. You're on the throne there, like you're like in the center, right on top of the screen, and it's like queen of the broadcast.
I really, we don't need to go there. But thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council, and this wonderful team that makes this report happen. As Scott mentioned, it's about bringing forward a draft to be able to, first of all, highlight what happened in that previous year, but this year in particular, to gather that feedback. Just in reviewing the document this morning before as I was getting ready for the meeting, I took a look at the pages that spoke to the reserve and reserve funds, and I thought, oh my goodness, let's have 3 years worth of data on that page. So let's have our 22 to 24 balances on that page to make that information more meaningful. So as we go through the process, we'll have that ability to continue to fine tune it so that we're able to bring good information in a timely manner. And as Scott said, proceed through to the culmination of the annual report. So basically, I just wanted to highlight that 2024 I coin as our emergency management year. That was the basically regardless of where we started, where we thought our budget was going to take us, the Parker Lake wildfire and ensuing activities certainly took us in a different direction. It provided the opportunity to understand how resilient our team is and to know that when something like that sits before us, we're able to respond. In the highlights of the report, though, what I attempted to do was identify all the different components there that actually came into play. As I sit in an emergency operations center, often I'm so busy that I gloss over the fact that there's a big part behind that. And so the highlights identify the different items that fire rescue, our community services, our emergency site support, how we handled our critical infrastructure maintenance, our waste management during the process, protecting our facilities, controlling access at the airport, and then being able, on top of all that, to provide business continuity to the community and to the organization. And certainly we learned a lot of lessons there. The offset to that is when we talk about our Northern Rockies regional municipal operations is that there were line items within our budget that weren't able to be spent. There were projects that we had to delay because we got a later start on them than what we had anticipated. Our staff and our crews were busy elsewhere handling things. So perhaps we weren't able to have boots on the ground like we wanted at the rec center. We were closed for a period of time. We had additional costs related to the emergency, but that reduced some of the training that we went on. So those were our offsets. In operations, the other main offset we had though was that we had to acknowledge just over $3 million for uncollectible taxes that had not been budgeted. So it had a direct implication on our surplus. So the highlights page on page 4 of the document leads us through some numbers that talk about the change. But at the end of the day, when we talk about our operating, our impact to the operating surplus, we had a more positive impact to the operating surplus overall by $185,000 or a 3% impact, strictly in operations. As you go through the report, you have the ability to see the overall operational structure, And then after that, we go into the departmental sections where you see operations broken out with some verbiage about how things were handled during the year and what the outcomes and the achievements were. And then summaries of the projects, whether or not they were completed or brought forward over a multi-year process. So at this point, I'd like to hand it back to council to ask if there are areas that you would like to speak about throughout the report. It's our first go at this.
Great. Thanks, Tony. Counselor Enox, did you have any comments and or questions?
No, I agree with you too. It's a great report and full of great information. I don't really have any questions at this point.
Great, thanks. And my questions were more specific questions at the numbers. And if I heard Mr. Berry correctly, that's not necessarily what you're looking for today. So I can submit those at another time.
Actually, no, if there's specific questions on the numbers, by all means, no, absolutely. We're here for those too. If you do have one, or it's entirely up to you. Yeah. What I meant today is we weren't as staff going to go through every line item in the doc.
Oh, okay,
if
great.
need,
Yeah.
Unless council wants us to focus on something, or if you have a question.
Right,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. So any questions or any clarity, anything like that, feel free to throw them away. We hopefully have the answer.
Yeah, well, the first one was that I noted under revenues. It was income from government business enterprises, and in 2023 there was a $443,000 loss, right? That's what that little minus thing means, right?
That's
and
correct.
then
That's
in
correct.
2024 there was another not as big of a loss. And so then I'm just wondering, do you have any information as to what 2025 is going to look like?
I don't have any information on the records for the CF Corp yet this year. We've sent out our request identifying our need to have them for our December 31st statements.
Okay. So then will council get a follow-up once we get that information? So it's not like a big surprise at budget time, or
Sure.
perhaps?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks. And then my second question was under general government services, operational annual budget to actual. And under expenses, council is noted in 2023 at $615,000 and change. 2024 budget was 417, and then 2024 actual was 339. So I'm just wondering what happened, if anybody remembers, in 2023 where that amount was so much larger.
I will have to take a look at it, and I can bring back that information for you.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I actually
No.
can. In 2023, we identified the projects that we were doing in healthcare under council initiatives. We have since moved them to the planning department.
Great, thank you. That answers my question on the planning department too, then. And then my last question is under regional development and planning, tourism. So that amount has increased since 2022. And I'm just wondering, the actual for 2024 was 324,000. I'm just wondering what that all encompasses.
So you're talking about the operational budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So under tourism, we've got things like marketing, wages, training and development. The trade shows were put under there as well. We moved those from a special project. The visitor information centers included in this as well.
Okay. And is there a place where the amount for the Visitor Information Center is shown what that actual amount is? Like separate from, because it's all lumped in that one category, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's
So-
all one.
Is there? Do I just have to ask for that separately or it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
It'll be because it'll be on the contract services.
yeah,
Under
okay.
that line item. Yep.
So could I get that information then, please? Not.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I'll follow.
For
up.
2024.
Well, yeah. Okay, that was all my questions.
Thank you.
Just, yeah, just wanted to just say again, like I would be going through the numbers and then going like, oh, writing down all my questions, and then I'm reading the explanation. I'm going like, okay. So, so it was really well done. Answered all of my questions except for 3. So yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate all the work that went into this. And I myself will find this valuable information to have at hand, especially when people call you and ask you questions and you know, going back through all of those council reports and budget, big, huge budget binders. So this will work really well for me. So thank you very much.
As staff or as a CEO, when I look at the numbers and we of course, we go a significant dive into the numbers, considering the year we had in 24 and the disruption we had starting. I mean, prior to May 10th, we were running around a fair bit because fires that were occurring. Of course, May 10th was evacuation. When you factor in the costs and the tracking of costs in the background, we essentially almost like ran 2 separate businesses at the end of the day when we got into the summer in terms of trying to balance that piece and the significant amount of invoicing and information and justifications that would go to the province to try to recoup those costs. But when you look at the expenses, and the revenues that were received to help offset some of that, but when you look at everything as a whole, it demonstrates how financially prudent the organization is, quite honestly, especially when you look at the work that's done at the department levels with the department heads and how they maintain and focus on those budgets, right? Because there's a fairly large budget, a lot of moving parts, and collectively, when you look at the numbers and the amount of distractions that occurred, to be able to manage that and manage within, color within the lines, for lack of better words, and still be able to maintain that level of that financial oversight is a testament to the group for sure.
I agree for sure. Like there was just so many moving parts, right?
Yes.
Would have been really easy to see spending mushroom and it didn't. So yeah, so very well done.
And the thing that I think to keep in mind, of course, is that areas where you'll see an additional expense, that just shows the expense. It doesn't show the revenue to offset it, right? So,
But when you read the
justification-
report, it
just
actually tells
the information provides it exactly. So it's good, and that's why that's, in my opinion, what brings value to that report is to be able to take a look at it and say this is what occurred. Tells the
Exactly.
story.
Yeah. And it's all right there where you don't have to go through 10 million pages, right? It's just, oh, really? Okay. And then, yeah. So I really appreciate the way it's laid out and the information included. So yeah. Good. Well, thanks. Anything else? Let's see. Oh, are there any?
So I apologize if I may. I was just able to gather the VIC cost for 2024.
Okay.
95,870.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Are there any public news media questions? Nothing, seeing nothing. I don't think we need to rise and report anything, do we? Nope. Okay, so I just declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. If I don't see anybody, have a very wonderful holiday season.
Happy holidays,
you.
everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Tony.
Thank you, and yourself.